Well, welcome everyone. The this little intro talked about untold stories, land for success, untold stories, and I want to jump right into it. I cannot think of a better individual. Someone I've known probably for over 3 decades. Someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He's an incredible friend. He's an incredible leader. He's a family man, and he absolutely loves to help people. And you're going to see that as we get into it. So I want you to help me to welcome my good friend, Joe Garcia. Joe, how are you?
Fantastic. I'm flourishing, Gordon.
Well, you're always flourishing. What are you talking about? Like, it's almost like you have that fountain of youth, Joe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I work on it. I work on it.
Well, that's amazing, Joe. Why don't we jump right into it? Um, you and I have been friends for a long time. You have tremendous amount of success with your business and the folks that you teach and coach all around the world. And when you talk about how to have the best year ever, right? I mean, the last year and a half has been tough. Now we're going into 2022. Could you maybe share with us what do you mean by how you can actually have your best year ever?
Well, we all in business and in life, it seems that when we turn the calendar, Gordon, we are setting resolutions. These New Year's resolutions. And everyone, if we were to go to any busy corner of any city in the world and just ask people one question, would you like to have more income or better finances in 2022? Most people would say yes. Probably everyone would. If you want better relationships in 2022, most people would say yes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So around this time of year, particularly those that are entrepreneurs, are asking themselves, how can I double my business in 2022? Or if you're just someone that would like to be an entrepreneur or just are into personal self-development and you're asking yourself, how can I have a better year in 2022? And
I want
most
to know,
people,
Joe. I want to double. I want to have a better 2022 and double my income. So I'm out ears.
uh well, the first, am I still with you?
Yeah, yeah. You were cut out, but you're back. I can hear
Gordon,
you, Joe. Yes, I can hear you.
okay, we lost. Did I drop or was it on your end?
I'm not sure, but you did drop out for a minute, but you're back.
Okay. Okay, good, good. So, to have your best year ever in 2022, it starts with awareness. From my experience, if you double your awareness, if you increase your awareness, you'll figure it out. You'll eventually figure it out.
Wow.
So the first step is if you're doing a half an hour a day or a half an hour a week in 2021 and feeding your mind and growing your skill sets, make a commitment to up that. So, for example, many, many years ago, I decided that I was going to do an hour a day. And actually, at that time, it was 45 minutes a day. And I remember when I made that conscious thought process, well, how can I do more the next year? I upped it by another 15 minutes. So I went an hour a day.
Wow.
And it was amazing the results that I had the following year. So awareness is key, is growing your mindset, growing your belief systems. The second step is, one of the challenges that we have in life is we have to, and comes from awareness, Gordon, is we have to understand that most of all our beliefs, our paradigms have been programmed into us. Okay, the ones that are emotional to us, which is usually about relationships and money and family, are the ones that we have very religion, are very deep programs. So we have to come to the awareness that everything that we believe in these areas more than likely have been programmed into us. Not something that we consciously chose to believe in. So it's important, and this again goes back to awareness, to come to a realization that this is a fact. So the second step is you got to understand that there are programs that are working in your subconscious mind that are holding you back as a person, holding you back, et cetera, et cetera. You still have me? Okay.
I still have you.
You
Yes.
still have me, right?
Yeah. Awareness, belief.
So,
yeah, I love that. Now you're number. Yeah.
So a good question you can ask yourself, which is very tough to ask, is what are the beliefs that I have right now that are holding me back?
Wow.
Okay, and a lot of us will come to the realization, I don't know, because these are things that are part of us, part of our personality, part of our family life. So it's important to continue to ask that question. As you grow your awareness, you're going to come along and you'll have these whispers come into your life from the universe, from God, that will tell you this is what you believe in that's holding you back, that will encourage you to change as a person, to grow. So for example, with myself, I grew up as a Catholic. I probably still consider myself a Catholic, but as I've traveled the world, I've been invited to temples and different churches and synagogues and mosques. And by those visits or those experiences, that allowed me to question a lot of the things that I believed to be true because of what was programmed into me. So in the respect of religion and spiritualness, I was able to grow by asking that question. Another thing is money. Is we've been growing, my parents were immigrants from Portugal before I was born. I was born here in Canada. And growing up, back in the 60s, it was difficult for them. They came here in early 60s and working on fruit farms and having different jobs and having a cleaning business. When I was born and then my sister and brother was born and their family was growing, they were building a life just from scratch. It was difficult. And so these money paradigms I grew up with, were very deep because a lot of the things that I attached emotionally, growing up, we were middle class. I considered myself middle class, but my parents were constantly discussing money over time, right? So a few years back, I'm buying a door that was well into the 5 figures, and I can remember at that moment, I'm writing down the check amount, okay, and signing the contract. And immediately I heard my dad say, "Are you freaking crazy, Joe?"
Yeah. Like, Joe, that's a down payment for a house when he was younger, right?
Yeah. So that money, what happens if your business dies tomorrow?
Yeah.
All these thoughts were coming in. And I literally had to turn over my shoulder. I thought my dad was really there. And then for that split moment, I realized that was my programming. I just laughed it because of my awareness. I knew where that was coming from.
Right.
So, I didn't want to. So because I was aware and where that was coming from, I was able to fight through those paradigms that were programmed into me.
Wow.
And then the third step is where most people have a difficult time, is they got to determine what they want in life. It's really the secret to life. Gordon, most people are living their life.
I'm gonna type this in the chat here, Joe. That's determine what you want in life. I like that.
Because if you don't, and you live your life by default, you will have default things happen to you. You'll have some good things happen to you. You have some bad things happen to you because you're not consciously creating a life. You're unconsciously, based on your programs, creating a life. So you need to get to a point where you need to determine what you want. Here's the problem. Is that programming in this area so deep regarding self-esteem that are we capable of doing it?
Wow.
There's so many deep negative programming, depending where we live around the world, depending on our environment, the way we grew up. And most people have a difficult time to understand what they really want or determine what they don't what they really want. They can tell you what they don't want. You can ask people, what do you not want in life, Gordon? And you will get a list of things that you don't want in life. And so I've recognized that this is an area that people, because of deep programming, where they really spend a lot of time really identifying what they really want in life and then fall in love with it. And that's the key process, is falling in love with it. Because all our emotional baggage in life is the things that we have emotionally attached our feelings to when we're in the past. So if we're able to do that opposite to the future, we're going to be able to attract those things faster, better, quicker to us. So if you have these very deep programming, if you don't know what you really want, or you have a hard time with materialism or all these things that we make up in our head, there are some exercises that you can do to overcome those beliefs, those paradigms that you've been taught. And one of them is I have people write down everything that they don't want in life. And when I see the list, I can clearly know what they really want in life. Okay? Another one is that they can set some activity goals in 2022. So get their brain used to working on towards a dream. So set an activity goal. So if you're in business, contacting one new prospect a day. If it's a weight loss goal, cut off 10 calories a day, for the first 30 days. Just something simple. And when you achieve that goal over a period of 30 days, go reward yourself. Go buy yourself a suit. Go to the spa for the day. I do that consistently. So now you're getting in the habit of, okay, I can do this. I can go and reach out for my dreams now.
Wow. That is absolutely incredible.
That is absolutely incredible.
Most people say that they know what they want. So why is it that they're still stuck?
Okay, so here's the thing. They don't love it, and they don't really, it's too generic. So they'll say, I want to become a millionaire. Or I want to get debt free. Or I want to travel. Okay, so we have to understand in life, and I cover this in my book, how things come to us in our lives, how the universe works. So everything that we see with our eyes are made up of energy pockets, including ourselves. We're just energy. And when you break down those energy pockets, they're really called quantum biparticles. So science has proven in the last 20 years that these quantum biparticles are connected to everything that is. And they actually literally have a brain inside these quantum biparticles. They're connected to everything that is in the universe. So what happens is when we think a thought with enough energy, these quantum biparticles are listening. When repeated over time with this energy, no greater energy than love, is these quantum biparticles start to form in exactly what you're thinking about in a parallel universe. And eventually what happens through the law of gestation is that universe eventually becomes yours. So everyone's a little bit different in terms of what they can manifest in life. It depends on the energy that they put into it. So what I did in the book is I designed my 5-step method of how I keep myself on track every single day so I can manifest faster, better, quicker based on the focus. So here's the challenge with most people, Gordon, is really 2 spinning discs in the world of energy. The top disc is gratitude, hope, love, prosperity, abundance, etc., etc. Down here is fear, worry, resentment, anger, etc., etc. Okay? So it's not possible to attract great things into your life if you spend most time down here. Okay, so the goal is to keep yourself up in the top spinning axle, because your energy will attract faster, better, quicker. And so if you spend more time up here rather than down here, you will manifest things faster, better, quicker. And you got to remember, we manifest faster, better, quicker with things that we fear and things that we love. Those are those two most powerful emotions. Fear and love. Love is more powerful than fear. But most of us are consciously and unconsciously thinking about what we don't want, so we're always down here. And have you ever seen an entrepreneur, Gordon, where you've seen this in our lives, where you see guys have a 1, 2, 3 year run where they're really successful. They've made all this money.
Right.
And then a year or 2 years later, they've lost it all.
They lost it all. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You've seen that with lottery winners too. You've seen that. And the reason why is money is up here. So if you're spending your time from up here to down here, excuse me, if you're spending your time most of the time out here, once you've received the money and you're doing well and you're not consciously aware that you're down here all the time, you're eventually going to lose that money, because money is just energy. It's just vibrating at a higher level. Wow. So a great example of this is a few years ago, I walked into a restaurant and I hadn't been there for years. And I sort of knew the owners, right? Because I'd visited there a few times. And he walked up to me, remembered me, and the place was empty. And I couldn't believe it. You know, great food and everything else. But I sensed the energy of fear with him and his wife. They were really hard workers, but they were really, really, I just could feel that something was going on with their life, right? And so I asked him what's going on, how's business and everything else. And he was in trouble financially with his business. They were having a hard time, and many more other restaurants in the area. And so what was happening, and I had spent some time with them, with some suggestions, because I told him I could sense the fear. And other people and your clients are sensing the same thing. They may not be aware of it, but you're attracting exactly what you're fearing the most. And you're getting into that cycle. And he looked at me, he looked at me like I was out in outer space, like I was some kind of
alien, right?
Crazy time. Unfortunately, he was out of business 3 or 4 months later. Where he's focused all his life into that area. So if he just kind of understood what I was feeling and picking up, we could have changed that momentum for him.
Yeah. So, Joe, I remember you saying one time.
We're off track in life. Sorry, Gordon, but we're off track in life. Our internal guidance system will tell us. It's because our feelings. So if we're not feeling well, we're not. It's because more than likely we're thinking about what we don't want in life.
Wow. I remember you talking about that a while ago in another training, where you talk about where people they're too focused on things they don't want versus the things that they do want.
Yes, because that's what we're trained to do. I catch myself that's a lot of times that way too, because we're trained to worry, to fear of the unknown. If something happens in our life and our thoughts start to just continue to go down that path, and that's just human nature. It's just human nature. But in order to keep us on track, this is why we need to fall in love with our dream. In a couple of months, January, February, the Olympics are going to be Winter Olympics in China. So you got thousands of athletes all over the world.
Yes.
Number one, their dream was to go to the Olympics. And a good percentage of them, their dream is to medal or get in the top
Yes.
10 of the world in their discipline. Okay, so those are two dreams. So just imagine the work that they've put in
Wow.
to
That's
go
right.
to the Olympics. They would, if they didn't love it, they didn't love that dream, they would never put the work in. Never.
Yeah.
The first
Exactly.
disappointment,
Yes.
the first distraction, the first injury, they're out of the game. And many of them are like that. But when you love it, it's playing in the movie in your mind all the time. That is the power of manifestation, is when you love it.
Wow, that's incredible. Joe, for some of my friends who may be watching and even watching the replay, I just want to show them this slide for a sec. Your best year ever. You're on stage here, and you're on stage like in probably over 60 plus different countries, training hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of people. And now that the pandemic is here, obviously it's harder for for travel, but you have graciously said anybody from our community that would be interested in downloading a copy of your book, How to Have the Best Year Ever. I've got a link at the bottom, you guys, whyjoegarcia.com. You can go there, check out Joel's website, and probably somewhere around there, I would imagine they would be able to download a copy of that book, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't ask for people to to fill out their information. It's just a straight download, straight link.
Yep.
It's a number of languages from Japanese, Hindi, Spanish, English, Russian, Swedish. I'm adding some more languages.
That's amazing. I didn't know you spoke all those languages.
Yeah. Well, I do a little. Including Mandarin, and there's a number of other languages that are coming on board. And the book was written for the purpose of a short read, 15 minutes, where they can just go and use it as a guide to manifesting every single day. And having the awareness. That's my point, is just getting to that awareness. I can do this. And I'll tell you how that my journey in this area, Gordon. So as you know, you and I met in a company called Quorum, a network marketing company called Quorum. And my question always was, I was able to attract things quite quickly up until that moment in my life. And I couldn't eloquently share to people how I was doing it. Like I had no idea, right? So I was moving up in rank. I was succeeding in business. I felt I wanted it more than most people. I was committed more than most people. I was even more committed than my mentors, over the years. So
I remember that, Joe. I saw some of your mentors. They were they quit. They were on the sideline, but you just kept going.
Yeah. So in 1996, we were in a cruise around here in Toronto, around the islands, and it was an event. And a guy by the name of John Fairweather out on the West Coast came to me and said, Joe, I've been in this industry for such a long time. I've never seen someone grow as much as you have. So my first thought, Gordon, was, oh my God, I must have been really bad for him to say something like that, because I'm nowhere near where I want to be, right? And it was a compliment, but for me, it was, I got to get better. So I'm reading all these books. I'm doing everything that I'm told to do. And I'm asking myself the question, how can I do this faster, better, quicker? I can have an explosion the next year. And when you are in love with your dream, the universe will direct you in the right path if you're listening, and you will have synchronicities. Powerful. You will have synchronicities happen in your life that you think it's just coincidence. So you got to listen to those synchronicities. So in 96, 97, I come home real late. I turn on the television to watch some sport highlights, and it's on CNN. Larry King is interviewing a psychic, Sylvia Brown. And something inside me, she was promoting her book, The Other Side of Heaven and Back. Something inside me told me, Joe, you got to go read that book. Okay. And I didn't do what I'm supposed to do at that moment. Again, I was whispered big time.
So
So
that sixth sense, right? Like the spidey senses were tingling, right, Joe?
yes. So 2 years later, a year or 2 years later, I'm in the local library. My daughter Vanessa's having swimming lessons at a local rec, and there's a library in there. So I had time to kill. I go into the library, and as I was walking into that library, the book is right there. And I remember the feeling. So I immediately went online and ordered it off Amazon. If you remember back then, Amazon was just a bookseller, right? And I got the book. And when I read the book, I understood immediately why I was told to read the book. And she had so many great manifestation principles from heaven to earth. And I thought, oh my God, if we can do that in heaven, we can do this on earth, no problem. You know?
Wow.
And that's what got me into really this area of manifesting your best year ever. And then 2001, kept on asking myself the question, how can I do this faster, better, quicker? And that's when I was introduced to Bob Proctor's work, Born Rich, through a friend of mine who just gave me a series of tapes. And I knew at that moment that those things resonated with me so much that I listened to it every day for 2 years. I could have done that seminar just by, Gordon, you still with me?
I'm here. No,
Okay.
I just wanted the folks to see it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Got it. You're confusing me with
Bob
it.
Proctor. Wow.
Yeah. So that was, again, it was just a happenstance. Someone it was a whisper that gave me those audio tapes. And as I was listening to those audio tapes, I said, oh, I got to listen to this every day. Like over and over and over and over again with the Sony Walkman, if you remember them, as I was exercising. Wow. And that's when, so many other synchronicities that allowed me to, share these specific details over the years, and led me to writing this so people can read it in 15 minutes,
Wow. Joe, I told my kids about the Sony Walkman. They looked at me like I was an alien. Like, Dad, what's a Sony Walkman? Well, what's really neat, you talk about in the 90s, right? And then how you were chasing your dreams, how you were influenced by individuals like Bob Proctor. But Joe, I want to change things up a little bit here because in my opinion, you're the modern day Bob Proctor. For my friends, for the folks who don't know Joe Garcia, you're out there every day, teaching, training, coaching, mentoring, motivating, whatever it is that you do, right, to help people succeed. And I've talked to some of my friends and I said, look, I bet you my friend Joe has helped more women in third world countries become financially free or become millionaires than anyone I know. And that's one of the reasons why a number of years ago, when we first started the Empowering Women to Succeed series, if you remember that, well, who was the first person we asked to be the keynote speaker for that event? You, right? And so many of my friends are saying, Gordon, it's the Empowering Women to Succeed conference. Why would you have a man speak at the event? And today, many of those women are still friends with you and, look up to you for guidance and coaching. But Joe, would you mind perhaps even sharing with the folks a little bit about your story? Like who's Joe Garcia? Because folks are watching and listening right now. Joe sharing about how to manifest, how to have the best year ever. What gives you the right? What have you done to earn the rights now to be able to share and teach that? I know that. I just want the folks to hear.
I think there's so many coaches and trainers, and it's an exploding industry because we're all getting to that conscious level that we need to improve ourselves. We're living in extraordinary times, the best times ever that this world has ever experienced. And like most people that are, yes, we're going through a pandemic. And, that is still with us. But if you look at the overall history of mankind, there is no greater time than what we have today. There is less people in poverty, like extreme poverty, than ever. There are less wars going on in the world than ever in the history of mankind. there is more abundance and prosperity globally than any time in history of mankind. So there's so many great things that are happening in today's world. We're really fortunate living in this world at this time. But more importantly is understanding, going back to the women's thing, Gordon, is we're moving into the decade, the century of the woman.
Wow.
Century of the woman when it comes to entrepreneurial women. And you're going to start seeing a lot more heads of states that are women. You're going to start in emerging markets also. You're going to start to see incredible, and you're seeing it now, but overwhelmingly women leading business. So we're going into that era, which I find very exciting because men have programmed women. We've done it to our daughters that women are supposed to be in this area, taking care of the family,
Yes.
Cooking and cleaning and heading the household. And that's okay. But there's so much more that women can offer. And that paradigm shift is happening not just in the Western world, we're ahead of the game here, but in the emerging markets. So it's a huge growth curve that you're going to see. And the world's going to be much better off with women leading countries, leading businesses, leading small businesses. I'm excited about it. For me,
Wow.
1992, up until that time, in my early 20s, I considered successful outside of going to school, educated myself. My first couple of jobs, I moved myself up to management. My last job was in 92, which I lost in December, Christmas, 92. I was newly married, I was married 4 years. Kyle was just born, he was a year old. And I was managing a squash, racquetball, fitness club. And I loved the job. It was my first taste of freedom. And the owners came to me, Joe, you've done such an incredible job that we now can sell the club for millions of dollars. And the owners, because out of ignorance, I thought, okay, I'm going to get a big profit sharing. Next day, there was no profit sharing. They were gone, and the club was sold.
Wow.
But I was so proud of myself.
Wake up call, right? What a wake up call.
But I was so proud of myself. I stayed an extra 30 days because I had so many people that I owed money from the club, that small business owners, that I stayed on just so I could find a way to get them paid, for outstanding bills. Because I knew if I would have left at that moment, it wasn't going to happen. So
see, that's what you call integrity. That's what you call integrity.
Yeah, it was a defining moment in my life. And then what happened is I promised myself I would never work for someone else. It was a wake-up call because at that moment, I realized I was building their dreams instead of mine. And so I got out of my comfort stage and promised myself I would never work for someone else again. And that was crazy, Gordon. Looking back, outside of the club business, I had no entrepreneurial experience. I had no idea what business I was going to go in. I didn't want to go and start my own gym because I knew the pitfalls of that business too much. And I just had no idea where I was going to go. But the first thing that I did that changed my life was a few months into that process. I came home one afternoon and started writing down what I wanted my life to look like 10 years from that moment. I fell in love with it. I know now, many years later, I attracted the sequences after that. Because once I fell in love with it, what happened is I met a gentleman a month later, in a local library. He introduced me to network marketing. It was okay. I was invited to a meeting a couple of months later because he did such a poor job explaining the business. I went to the meeting, and January 23rd, 1993. And I knew I had one of those born again Christian moments, if you call them that. I knew from head to toe that that was my vehicle to my dreams. I absolutely had no doubt. It's because I fell in love with my dream and the universe was knocking me over the head. Joe, this is your path. Joe, this is your path. And that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey 28 years ago and never looked back. Yeah.
That's incredible.
You know, I look back, no income, new family, and, you know, I just had the focus and the faith that this was going to happen. And I worked hard.
Wow.
You know, I worked hard. I wanted it more than anybody else. I slept, dreamt it every single day, you know. And I challenged myself. I disappointed myself. I grew. I was the worst public speaker ever. You know, it was my worst nightmare to do that. And one story that changed, and that was all because of programming, Gordon. I didn't realize why I was so afraid of speaking in front of people. Like I was absolutely horrified. And I realized why that happened, and that had to do with awareness. Is back in my high school days, I had a presentation to do with a partner, a friend of mine, and I froze up on stage. And you know, it's high school. You got ridiculed, but you know, and I embarrassed myself that day. And that feeling of that moment stayed with me. That created the fear of, I'm not good enough. I'm going to do the same thing. I didn't realize that that was there. And I remembered that had happened to me. Oh, no wonder I hate speaking in front of crowds, right?
Wow.
So one of the things that I did that would help everyone is we all live within our comfort zone. These are our paradigms. And our comfort zone keep us, because our subconscious mind wants us to feel comfortable. You know, anything that goes outside of everything that we've been programmed to, it doesn't want you to do. Because of the programming. So what I did is I asked myself, what is the one thing that I am scared to do, which is public speaking. But what was another thing that I would never do? That's way out of my comfort zone. And I thought, okay, knocking on doors. Okay, being someone that goes through a neighborhood and knocks on doors. So I remember in 95, I choose the February. It was the coldest day. Went to Mississauga, which is the next town next to me. Picked a neighborhood and I started knocking on doors. And I was trembling going to that door. And I didn't sell any alarms. I had a lot of doors closed on me. I had a lot of people welcome me in their homes and listen to me. And that day I didn't sell anything, had no leads, no referrals, nothing happened. But it was a defining moment. I was so proud. I said, oh my God, if I can do this, I can do anything. I got outside my comfort zone, and that was a major year of growth for me.
Wow.
Massive.
That's incredible. So you just stare that fear down and just went into it. That's hard, knocking on doors.
That Joe in high school still comes back. You know, I've spoken in 15,000, 20,000 room stadiums, and that Joe still comes back.
Now you go to a stadium and it's packed. Like when you go to Macau, how many people are there?
Yeah, we've had 5, 10, 15,000 over there in Asia, easily. But what happens with me is that those feelings come back because of the programming, but I'm aware why that's coming, and I just fight through the fear. I fight through the fear, and I've been doing it, and it just got easier and easier and easier to do. You know, and one of the challenges that we do is that we compare ourselves to other people. Oh my God, that Les Brown is incredible. I'll never be like him. Yes. Or Bob Proctor's incredible. I'll never be like him. Or our peers in our business that just are natural at it, right? Or we think they're natural at it. So I stopped comparing myself. So I just be the same guy. And if you see that picture, that was an event in Lima, Peru. And if you look at Yeah. So if you look at the faces of those people, it was another incredible. So there was a translator on stage, and that hour that I spoke, I knew I really got to their hearts
Mm,
because of their smiles and the intensity of the energy. So when it comes to
wow.
public speaking, I'm not the most eloquent person in the world. I'm not the most, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I don't command the stage. But what I've
Yeah.
done is I just be myself. I just speak from the heart. And
Yeah.
if we all do that, great things happen.
That's incredible. Joe, thank you so much for being here. And just a few minutes ago, you shared your story of how you got started as well. And so for me, that's important for the folks to see that because today there are individuals who only know Joe Garcia as someone who's extremely successful, right? And you're not going to talk about it. I know you're humble about talking about it. The company that you represent, I may be wrong with the exact timeline, but I understand you guys were, featured in Fortune 100 magazine, right? 2 consecutive years in a row as the number one fastest growing publicly traded company in the world. And to put that into perspective, you guys are also a direct sales company. It's hard enough, it's tough enough to build a successful business in the direct sales industry. And then when you're a publicly traded company, with all the scrutiny that you're under, it makes it even that much harder, right? So it didn't happen once, it happened twice. And I believe the year before that, you guys were number two in that list, and Facebook was number three. So we're not talking about some make believe list that people get themselves featured in. Like this is serious business. So this is how the world perceives Joe Garcia today, right? But you sharing your story of the fears and the struggles you went through and falling in love with your dream to get to here today. So before you go, Joe, again, I just want to remind folks that please go to Joe's website, whyjoegarcia.com, download a copy of Joe's book on how to have the best year ever. Uh, Joe, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. How has that affected your business? And for folks that are being affected, what would you say to them right now on how they can actually have the best year ever in
I think
2022?
way too many people in life are worrying about things that they can't control. Okay, things
Mm,
that they don't want. So if you're unvaccinated, you're protesting and you're really getting pissed off what the government's doing. Uh, all of us are, a lot of us in the mainstream media talking about restrictions again and travel restrictions, and people are getting pissed off. There's something up. The whole world is together. This governments want to lock us in. All this stuff that we're spending so much energy in fighting and listening to. So the collective consciousness, what happens is when what we fight against continues to expand. So
mm,
if collectively, if we as a human race, focus on the outcome, that it's going to be great, it's going to be fantastic. This is just a process that we have to go through. The pandemic will end faster, better, quicker.
mm.
I totally believe that. There's many examples of this, of human history. It's all to do with the collective consciousness. So I would recommend, don't worry about things that you can't control. It's a waste of energy.
Mm.
You can go fight
Well,
and do all that protesting and everything else if it makes you feel good that you're doing something about it. But ultimately, you have no control. The only thing you have control is what you focus on and what you attract in life moving forward.
mm,
So when it comes to what's going on, I'm just focused entirely on what I need to do. Yes, the COVID thing
mm.
sneaks in. You can't turn it off.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to
yeah,
fight about it. It is what it is. So we need
yeah.
to understand what we can do as a leader, as a husband, as a wife, as a partner, as a family member, whatever distinction you have, just moving forward, focus on what you can control. And believe me, what happens is your entire universe starts to expand in the way that you want it to. So when this thing started to happen, I've shut down all my traveling. Basically, my wife and I have traveled once outside of Ontario to Halifax
and for
PEI
you
lesson.
guys, you and Maria, you guys were like, Joel, didn't mean to cut you off. For you guys, every time I try to get a hold of you, you're in Turkey, you're in Istanbul, you're climbing a mountain. So like, you guys are like world travelers. So if anybody should be complaining, it should be you.
But no control. Next year, early next year, I've had all these trips planned. Now it looks like I have to cancel them and delay them.
Again, right?
I have no.
Right?
I'm not going to complain about it. It is what it is. I can. Everything that happened to us in life, we have a choice to decide how we're going to feel about it. So I'm always going to choose the positive aspect of it. Someone asked me the other day, Joe, if you were to do another run all over again, what in this industry of network marketing, direct sales, what companies would you look at? And my response was, I'm so focused on what I'm doing, I don't pay attention to anything or go in depth in paying attention anything outside of me.
Right.
And he says, real?
Right.
Are you real?
Right.
Are you honest, being honest with me? I go, yeah, that's me. It's what I focus on, because what we focus on is where we're going to move in the direction of always.
Yeah. But that tunnel vision, right?
That tunnel vision, right?
Yes. Yes. You can let yourself go outside of that tunnel vision once in a while. That's just normal. But with me, it's just my world is what I need to focus on. My family, my business, myself personally, is what I'm focused on moving forward. My dream.
That's amazing. So once again, Joe, thank you so much for being here with us, and for folks if you guys are watching, my good friend Joe Garcia. If you want to grab a copy of his book, there's no opt-in. Just go to his site at yjoegarcia.com. You should be able to find where you can download Joel's book, How to Have Your Best Year Ever. Right, 2022, you guys. That's together. We can have our.
Yeah, Gord, I would love everyone, and when they download, read it again, over and over again. Send me their feedback. I love hearing testimonials. I love hearing. I was on a Russian training before this one, and the woman, unsolicited, came up in front of everybody. She downloaded my book, printed it, had a big poster made out of it. And she was sharing with me in her tears what it did for her in 2021. And she's using it as her Bible, and she's read it over and over again, because it's 15 minutes. So I was so happy to feel what it's done for her,
That's amazing. That must be such a good feeling when you have someone like that who read your book and the impact, right, that you're able to make in their lives.
Well, it makes you feel good. You know why coaches become coaches?
Why is that?
If they're really honest with themselves, it's how it makes them feel.
Wow.
How helping other people makes them feel. It's an ego boost. And that's one of the reasons why people gravitate to coaching, because they'll always say, well, I love helping people. No. It's what helping people really, and the response that you get, the feedback, is why you do it. Wow. You know what I mean? So honestly, that's what I do with people. I just pay it forward. It's what I do in my business, where I have to coach, train, develop people, grow people. And I just pay it forward outside of my business. I just share constantly what my experiences. And I
That's
don't
amazing.
charge for it. I don't charge for it because the universe pays me one way.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Joe,
And
for always giving. Joe,
the last tip I want to just share with everybody, Gordon, if you mind, just 2 minutes.
No, absolutely. I was going to say any final
things that you can do in 2021 to make more money. Okay, because money's on everyone's mind, constantly paying more for groceries, inflation rate.
Yeah.
If you're in the GTA, real estate prices have gone crazy the last 20 years and continue to do so. A Japanese coach called this the arigato principle, and it really works. Arigato is thank you in Japanese. And so anytime you spend money, say thank you, God, or thank you, whatever your beliefs are. And thank you for having me spend this money. Thank you for my investment. So always say thank you. And what happens during that process, you just train yourself to do that. It's amazing. You're going to get a rebound effect. The law of karma. What you put out is going to come back. So that's a great money tip. If you have issues with money, is get in the habit just when you spend money, when you give money away, when you're buying something, say thank you. Thank you, God, for letting me do this. Thank you. Good tip there.
Amazing. Gratitude. I'm going to have you come back another time and talk about gratitude as well, if that's good. If that's okay with you.
Arigato. Arigato.
Arigato. Well, folks, once again, thank you so much. Yeah, Joe, thank you so much for the folks who are watching. My good friend here, Joe Garcia. If you want to reach out to Joe, just go to yjoegarcia.com. And thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone. God bless.
Happy holiday. Have an amazing,
Thank you
amazing
for this,
day.
Gordon.